And we should be live. Woohoo! We are live on Facebook. So, welcome, Monica. I am so grateful that you're here and you're coming to us all the way from whereabouts?
Los Angeles, where it normally is sunny, but right now it is dark.
Okay, yeah, because it's 5:30 p.m. Is it with you in your time?
PM, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's dark now.
Oh, that's awesome. So, because it's coming into summertime in Australia, so it's daylight. But thank you so much for joining us. And I really, we have connected over the last little while, which has been so terrific. And I'm so super grateful for that. But I know that you talk a lot about how to pivot your business, and especially in these times of let's say confusion, to say the least. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a chat with you and let you tell us a bit of, like, about you and how you've come to where you are now, because you did a summit just recently, and I got the opportunity to speak at it. So it was friggin' awesome to be there. So you're growing and expanding like exponentially. So tell us a little bit about who you were to where you are now.
Well, what's really funny is my husband and I were actually having this conversation a couple of days ago, and this time last year, I was dreaming about where I am today. Literally dreaming. I had just maybe a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving, I went to an event and I saw what I wanted being done
Wow.
well on someone else. And I had no idea that it was what I wanted until I saw it, right? But
Right.
I had all these pieces floating around of what I thought, I was like, I kind of want to do this and I kind of want to do that. And then I had this experience. I went to, it was a workshop that was in person. It was a 2-day workshop where they were training, and I saw everything done well. And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be building, that right there. And so uh, a year ago, I was a solopreneur. I
Wow.
was, I had been coaching for gobs and gobs of time, right? Maybe 15 years. I've built other people's businesses really well. I've never met a ladder I couldn't climb. And so uh, a year ago, I was nowhere near where I am right now. And that all literally came from one, being able to see, right, what
Yeah.
it is that I wanted to achieve. And then from there, I began building. And so I was doing one-on-one coaching primarily. And my clients were really finding openings in what I was doing. But I was literally like, as soon as I would get a client, then I would focus on working on that one client. And then when that client was done with what my program, or, how I kind of worked them through the passes, then it was like, okay, now I got to find another client. So essentially, I was on this conveyor belt of one person at a time, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, great month if I had two that overlapped, right? Um, and part of it was because I was unfocused in actually growing that business specifically. But the other part was I still was fuzzy about what it is that I didn't know how I was supposed to show up. And so after
Yeah.
going to that event and seeing exactly what I wanted it to look like, I began to kind of do some product development. And as I was doing that product development of like, okay, well, I need to systemize and I need to put things
Yeah.
in place. And I need to actually be able to kind of teach this in a conveyor belt style and not like, okay, well, let me tweak this for this person and tweak this for
Yeah.
that person. Um, and then I brought on a business partner. And then we thought we were going to launch one program. We're like, okay, there's 4 things that I want to launch, but we'll start with the first one. And I had my entire, just like everybody else, right? Right before the coronavirus, we had all of our things lined up at the beginning of the year. 2020 is going to be my year. Woo! Right?
Yay!
And it's all going to happen. And I had everything lined up. I was going to launch my Life Calibrator program, and then I was going to launch my Business Maximizer program somewhere in the middle of the summer. And then I was going to launch my my brand builder program sometime in the third or fourth quarter. And then I was going to end the year with launching my last program. And that's how it was going to go. And it was all stacked so perfectly. And then the coronavirus came and took my little hand with all my stuff stacked just so and said, cars all over the place.
Yeah,
And
exactly
I
right.
like, yeah, and I was scrambling to try to figure out kind of what it was. I had already had, those pieces working in that place. But Kamara, when I can tell you that that was the best possible thing for how I thought it was going to be moved out of the way. And there was this first panic, of course, right? Just like everyone else was like,
Yeah.
what is this, right?
Yeah.
I have to go from, and now mind you, I was sick for a part of the year. So I was already feeling like I was behind the 8 ball because I was down for 6 weeks, which hindsight now, I think I might have had coronavirus, but there was no official diagnosis of that. But for 6 weeks, I was sick and in bed and could not do anything at all. And then 2 weeks after I came out of bed, we got shut down, right? So there was a whole lot of kind of like, self-guilt and just, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so we secured the toilet paper because apparently there was a run on toilet paper here in America. I don't know if you guys heard that over there, but
Yeah, we did.
we secured the toilet paper. My family had groceries. And then I kind of had this moment of reckoning. What am I going to do? Right? I can't have this on this launch event that I thought I was going to have that was going to be at LAX at a hotel, like the traditional way. And when I started to get a little quiet, I began to actually listen to that little voice, right? That voice that is the one that says, it's going to rain, grab your umbrella. And you look outside and it's a sunny day. You're like, it's not going to rain. I'm going to leave that umbrella there. And then you walk out and then like 10 minutes later, the clouds roll in and then it drenches on you, right? Like that voice, oh, I should have listened to that voice. I think of that as the God voice or as my intuition, right? My intuition kept saying, pull people together, right? Pull people together. You need to find other people who think like you and pull them together. And I couldn't figure out what to do with that. And so one of my friends asked me, well, now that your event is canceled, I feel like you should still do something on that date just to commemorate your event. And I was like, you're right. But I'm crazy. And so instead of having like a little post on Facebook or something to commemorate that this was going to happen, I decided to go forward with this 2-day event virtually. At that time, it was only 2 weeks before the event. And 2 weeks before the event, I put out a one-line post on Facebook calling all dynamic speakers, thought leaders, change makers. We need you right now. And we, in a matter of a week and a half, had 43 speakers help us put this event together. Well, we came together over 2 days to talk about everything that we talk about in the programs, all 4 of the programs that I thought I wasn't going to launch at that time. And I had called that one at the time, it was called the New Normal Global Virtual Conference, right? And I was just going to project into the world. I want it to be global. Now, mind you, at the time, I was only dealing with people in Los Angeles, one at a time. And here I am like launching into the world. I'm going to go global. When I tell you, I was so amazed, shocked, and it made me grow instantly. To one, see that listening to that voice, that small voice that I could have kept ignoring, that was actually the best thing I could have done. And that when I followed that voice, everything else aligned, and I got to accelerate way faster than what my brain was telling me I accelerate as, right? I thought I should do 1 program at a time. I just launched 4 at a time. And from that, I was able to get licensees so that other people could help me teach the program that I built. I was able to start an affiliate program so that I can kind of support and share with other businesses. And I got clients from it, right? And then became a brand, like a global brand overnight. But if it had not been for the coronavirus, this little tiny gift of the global, go to your room and think about what you've done with your life. I don't know that I would have been here.
Yeah. Amazing. And look, there has been so many sad stories around coronavirus, and you know, my love goes to people, but some people have had that silver lining effect. You're so right,
Hmm.
and I love that that has happened for you. And I know when I met you, I was like, yeah, hell, I want to be a speaker. And yeah, it was so professional, showed up. Okay, the timing wasn't perfect for Australia, but that's okay.
It was really early for you.
But that was okay. And you know, when things are important, you do when things are important. So, what would you say was the biggest factor that helped you in being successful? So you kind of put it out there and you got it, but like within you, what was the biggest factor?
Um, the biggest factor is always kind of remaining true to my purpose, right?
Yeah,
So in our program, we talk about it in a way of a just statement, right? I just want to be blah, or I just want to
yeah,
feel so, or I just want to, we have this long list of things we need to do. And in the end, if you summarize that list, is I just want to be this. And at the time for me, I really wanted my program to be successful, and I really wanted it to not be stuck to my neighborhood, that I wanted to get it out to the world. And
yeah,
so the key, since that first one, I've now launched three of those, and I now have three separate brands from the birth of that conference, right? But it came from my just statement was I just want to launch my program in an
yeah,
international market and change people's lives all over the world. And
yeah,
as I had to say that over and over again to every person who I was adding to my mission, right? I want to change millions of professionals worldwide. Want to change millions of professionals worldwide. I was reconfirming that with my own psyche.
yes,
And then all of my actions aligned to that, right? And so then it became, well, if I want to help millions of professionals worldwide, then I have to do things that are going to help me get out worldwide. And I
yes,
think kind of staying true to that mission, which, most people, when they do their mission statements, right, they're like, I'm going to build a business. And they write a mission statement and then it goes on the shelf with all of your
yeah,
business plans.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I say my mission statement several times a day to every single person I meet for the first time. Um, and I think that has been one of the major successes of why I've been able to scale and grow so quickly. It's only
yeah,
been 7 months since that
yeah.
that conference, and I now have 5 licensees. I'm licensing another 5 in the next week or so. So we're going to
Wow.
start the process of licensing. Like I said, we are launching. We now have this brand of conferences that are happening. Now they're called the next global virtual conferences. We're adding an additional 3 more on the anniversary. So we will not inconvenience my lovely Carmel anymore. We will actually be able to do a conference in your time zone, right? I am teaching people what I love on a daily basis. So all of those things came
Yeah.
from the core value of my mission, which is help millions of professionals worldwide change their lives and grow their businesses so that every person lives
Wow.
healthier, wealthier, and fulfilled. And every
Yeah.
time I say it, and every time I'm trying to do something, does this help me get that message out? Does this help me achieve that? Then
Yes.
if the answer is no, I walk away.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, Monica, because the ability to say no can actually be more powerful than just this filly-falling around with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're so right, when we're on a mission, quite often it's quite challenging at times to actually stay focused because there's so many things to do. There's so many balls to keep in the air. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and I know when in our membership, for example, we have a lot of women that come in as well, and they have that overwhelm going on. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
hang on, this is the question. And yeah, that's the answer. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I I'm sure you have, as I have, made some mistakes along the way.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you were to say what your biggest mistake was, what would you say that was?
um, Biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Gosh, there were plenty. There were plenty. Um, I've hired a web developer that didn't work out, and so thousands of dollars later, right? I have that
Yeah.
hole in my bottom line. But then the hardest part about mistakes, and I think it helps, it's a mindset kind of a thing, is I always go from everything as it's not a fail ever, right? If I
Yes.
learn. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to say the biggest mistakes, because even my mistakes ended up being kind of
Successes.
a learn, yeah, and
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
And so what I would probably say is, because for me, everything's either a win or a learn. Um, Even though I made the mistakes of hiring the wrong people, or not doing enough vetting, or not having my stuff together when the opportunity met that moment, and I just was unprepared, right? I learned from that. And so
Yeah.
even though I made those mistakes of like not being ready, or not saying the right thing, or I've done all of it. If you've made the mistake, I've probably made exactly the same mistake. And I've probably made it
Yeah.
like a bunch of different ways and a bunch of different times. Um, but I'm not scared of mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
actually
love that.
kind of am looking forward to making a mistake so I can correct it, because I don't learn anything from when things
Yeah.
go right.
100%. I call it failing forward. It's like a flat on my face and back up
Yep.
again.
And
And I
fast.
love, yeah, it's like learn, or it's either success or learn. I usually use it's effective or ineffective towards
Hmm.
the goal I want. That's it. If it's ineffective,
Yeah.
do I need to learn more? Do I need to know more? And I think quite often people get stuck in that was failure, I'm not going to do it again. And that's how
Yeah.
they get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, but the biggest point, so like, there were some business choices that I made that weren't the best business choices, even in this short period of time, right?
yeah,
Um, and some of them that I wasn't sure if it was a mistake that I made, or if it was like just the communication issue, or what it was.
yeah,
And so one of the biggest things that I think I can share with anyone is, when you make a mistake and you start to feel yourself build up this kind of callus around it, right?
yeah.
Around that mistake, and where you're fearful of going there, hire someone to help you like overcome that.
100%. Yeah.
And so I had, quite a bit, my business partner and I had to go separate ways. And we're still amicable and all those things, but it was like she needed to go follow her therapy path, and I'm on this hardcore entrepreneurial path,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't aligning in the same way. And so I knew I was starting to get some sort of negative talk and a negative psyche around it. Like, is it me? Is it
Yeah.
this? And I hired a business coach.
Yeah.
Instantly, I was like, you know what? I hear myself starting to put reasons why I can't be successful in my own way. And so then
Yeah.
I hired a business coach, and allowed myself to say those things out loud to another person, so they can reflect it back to me in a
Yeah.
way that, like, here, this is what you were saying to yourself. Let's figure out another way to reframe that. And that was super helpful.
Yeah. I love that. That's why I work with a mentor all the time.
Yeah.
And it was after years I went back to, and sometimes I'll be honest, I show up every week, and sometimes like I'm not sure what I want to talk to you about today. But I'm consistent, and I show up and I stuff up.
Hmm.
And like that, somebody that has taken the path you have, or is on that way and a few steps ahead, they can really reflect back at you some amazing stuff that you're going, I didn't even know that. What the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah. And for me, anybody who, I always say, if your coach doesn't have a coach, fire your coach, right?
Yes,
Or they don't
yes,
have a
exactly
mentor. If
right.
they're not talking to someone, then that means they're their own echo chamber of like, I am
Yes.
awesome. And that's probably not a good space. But, even someone who has an entire system that helps you identify and align all of your actions in a very systematic way.
Yeah.
Even I was able to take what I did in my own program to my coach and say, okay, here's what's going on with me, and have her help me kind of walk through some of
Yeah.
the areas that I identified that I was feeling like not so confident in, right? Or
Yeah.
that I felt like I needed a little bit more support in. And to be able to do that, it actually helped me soar even further. So even though I was
Yeah.
already on this aggressive path of, like building and growing, and things were
Yeah.
going good. Um, I put her in place because I'm like, as I'm growing, I know I'm gonna need the
Yeah.
support structure. and I know I'm going to need, and I also know that I made some mistakes and I'm starting to get that baggage hanging there, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't have it weighing me down. I
That
need to be
we
able
have
to
to put it
fly,
down.
right? And so
Yeah, yeah,
that was it was super important for me
yeah.
to really
I
kind of
think
have
that's
to,
amazing. And it is so important because we have an unconscious confidence of who we are and we don't see it because we're in it. And we
Mhm.
have this voice, and the illusion is, doesn't everyone do that? Isn't that what everyone goes through? And it's so, I'll use the word dangerous, but I'll use it loosely in terms of stopping you on your path, because it just is
Yeah,
that continuous movie reel, if you like, going over and over and over
yeah,
in your head, unless somebody cuts it or stops it or interrupts it a little bit.
exactly. I call it the drive-by nagging thoughts, right?
Ah,
So they're not always there all the time, right? But it's like
no.
in the middle of doing something, you're just chugging along, you're feeling good, and all of a sudden it'll be like, "You're not good enough." You'll be like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
why can't I do that?" Right? Or
What
you have the
happened?
ball there.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And so it's like to keep this like drive-by nagging thoughts from kind of interrupting my flow is really important to have like the connection
Yeah.
uh, to where I can have a place to do that. And so it's super important to ask for help.
Yeah,
Um,
and saying it out loud, you said that earlier. Sometimes saying it out, I get my own answers because I'm an
mhm,
extrovert. With, I'm sure yourself, you're possibly a bit extroverted in some behaviors. And when I say it out loud, I've already almost got the answer before the other person
mhm,
says anything, because I need that external bouncing. That's why I
mhm.
talk a lot. So tell me, what's one of the hardest decisions that you ever had to make?
The hardest decisions I've ever had to make was actually choosing this path to begin with.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because well-meaning
it's
people tell you
easy.
don't. Yeah,
It's easy to sell someone else's stuff,
yeah,
right? It's so easy because if someone doesn't like it, it's not me,
yeah,
right? If it's not attached to me in any kind of a way. Oh, well, they just didn't like the product. It's okay. It was really easy to sell everything else but this program.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
awesome.
so the hardest decision um, are probably always the most important ones. And it's
Yeah,
almost always choosing you.
yeah. And I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are some of your success habits? I know you shared on a different call about one of your great ways of networking, but I'm not sure if you want to share that secret, but you can if you want. But what are some of your success habits, whether it be for yourself, setting up your day or whatever, or within your business?
Oh, so no, I'm an open book. This is the problem with all of it, right? I was giving it away for free for like my whole life, and then my husband was like, "Do something and make some money on this," right? But one of my success habits, I think, is really just kind of being scheduled and intentional with my time and energy.
Yes.
Um, you have choices. It's a tagline of mine when I go to networking events sometimes, and I say, "You have choices. Choose to be great," right? And so often, a lot of people say, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. And some of those have tos, right, are choices that you could have opted for something different, but you went for the
Yeah.
path that's directly in front of you. And so for me, I have chosen to create a life that only allows me to be successful because
Right.
it undercuts my bad habits, right? For instance, I love junk food and candy and cookies and ice cream, all of that stuff. So delicious, right? But I don't deprive myself. I just don't keep it in the house. And how that works is we have a grocery store that's like a block in both directions. I have a Whole Foods in one way and another grocery store in the other way. And they have plenty of those things all the time. They're open almost 24 hours a day. And so if I have a craving for something, then I would know if it was in the house, I'd walk in the kitchen, open the bag. There is no barrier to my psyche. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like, no, girl, you don't need this. And then afterwards, I'll feel guilty. So instead of that, I've created my entire life to be harder to make bad decisions, right? So
Right.
I sleep really early, right? I go to sleep really early so that I have no choice but to be bright and vibrant and awake when it's time for me to do things, right? But I made my bed so cozy and comfortable in order for me to be able to want to be in the bed every night. That is just so great, right? I don't keep bad habits, like I don't keep bad foods in the house. I only keep brain foods in the house so that my brain is working the way that it needs to go. And those are the self-care things that I do. But in my business, what I do is simple things, like I prepare ahead of time. I'm actually an introvert. You didn't know that. Most people like assume that I'm actually an extrovert because I tend to be charismatic, right? But I actually need to prepare ahead of time so that I can keep my social anxiety in check. So I look at my schedule, everything is scheduled down to like, I use my calendar links as much as possible because I am horrible at it. And I really kind of just make sure that everything that I need to do for myself and for my business and for my family and for all the different pieces are in the calendar already, right? Including time and space to not do anything so that I
Yes.
can actually be prepared to do nothing, right? This is my do nothing time. I get to be silly. I get to dance in the grocery store like my video earlier. And
So cool.
partying in the grocery
Yeah.
store, right? But it really is about being intentional and curating every detail of your life. And I don't have anything extra that requires more time with me. That I don't want to. I didn't grow up to be boring. I didn't want to be a
Yeah.
boring person, and I don't want to work harder than I have to work. And so I made everything so that it is exactly what I need it to be because I have a choice in the matter. And I
Yeah.
know that was super rambly, but it really boils down to being intentional about every decision on what I
Yeah.
add into my life. Every
Yeah.
person, every piece of doodad and whatnot, every item on my schedule. And I only work with people that I like.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And I love that you kind of said about automating, you implied it, because I remember I got a VA actually over 12 months ago, and I thought, my God, what am I going to give her to do? And then I gave her and I gave her and gave her. But I seem to get busier as well. I'm going, oh my God, I couldn't have let that stuff in if I A, hadn't got someone to help, but B, if I hadn't automated it. Because
Mm-hmm.
even, these interviews, I can send somebody a link, they can book in what suits them. We cut
Yes.
out that to and from and do and from. Oh my God, it used to
Yes.
drive me nuts.
I mean, last month I spoke to over 75 new people in individual calls.
Wow.
75,
Yeah.
right? I would not have been able to achieve that had I not automated, right?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
all. But it was intentional. I chose to sit down ahead of time, grab the automation link, grab all of the
Yes.
content and words that I needed to get them to what I needed to get them to, was intentional about who I was going to connect with and all of the different places that I was going to connect. And then went in with the intention of, I need to fill my calendar so that I can talk to the people who need to know what I'm doing. But I was super clear about my messaging, which I know you talk about that clarity in messaging all the time, right?
Yeah.
I only had one ask when I talked to them, and it was let's connect.
Yeah.
And once I gave them that one ask of let's connect, my automation filtered where I would connect them to in my product line, right? And then when I got on the call, I was able to just sit here on my balance, my yoga ball in my in my office and have the conversations one
Yeah.
after the other. And then
Yeah.
from there, there's the automated response. There's also letting my VA know to kind of connect them
Yeah.
to whatever the products that they said yes or no on. And then I move on to the next person. And so
Yeah.
really kind of having ahead of time, thinking about what my goals were, what my intentions were, and making everything intentional and automated so that
Yeah.
when I get up every morning, I know exactly what I'm going to do. When I go back to
Yeah.
bed, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It really does help. And that's from life. That's all the way through. My kid has my calendar, right? Put it on my calendar. If it doesn't count, it doesn't count when
Yeah.
it's on my
Yeah. It
calendar.
doesn't happen.
My husband
Yeah.
is on my calendar. Date night's on the calendar. Time to help him work on his business is on the calendar. My brothers, my mother, everybody's on the calendar. And the reason why is I love you. You are important. I am not
Yeah.
being just an overzealous kind of business person. I just want to make sure that I create space and time for you.
Yeah.
And so it really is so important to kind of be really intentional about that.
Yeah, and I love that. And the thing is, when you set up these calendar links, because we have different appointment types, you only do it once.
Yep.
My partner often laughs and goes, "I have to go in their calendar," and and it's quite funny because he works away, so there's a bit more argy bargy, so he's not always here. But
Yeah,
exactly that. When I know he's coming home, there's date nights put in. There's time he's coming home that I have to pick
yep,
him up. It's in the diary, or it doesn't happen.
exactly.
That's simple.
Exactly. And
So it's
they're
lovely.
free. It doesn't cost you anything, right? Like you
No.
could get a Calendly account for free, set up one, you can only do one appointment, but at least it'll get you in that process of automating your life a little bit so you can just show up. And I literally, the dings and bobs, like there was a ding a second ago that was time to make dinner, right? So
Yeah.
even like the
Even
automating of
that.
like making dinner and doing the next thing, so the little robots kind of help me stay on task and keep moving forward, so I get a lot done in a
Yeah.
very short period of time because of it.
And that's it. And it's not, people say to us all the time, number one, about they want more time, or number two, time management. And I have a little giggle about, daylight savings. We have daylight savings. It's like, what do? You take an hour every day and you put it in a wheelbarrow and then you pick it up at the end of the week and say you've got 7 extra hours. What's going on? But we all have the same amount of time. It's just how organized you have. And the more you can
Yeah.
automate stuff in your business, like again with our membership, like, so that's a monthly payment. I'm sure it's the same with yours. That's all
Yeah.
automated. They get emails, they get whatever. I don't have to touch it after I've done it once, so it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't believe how long we're talking already. We could talk forever, but I have two more questions for you. And
Okay.
What is your biggest joy in life?
Biggest joy. Biggest joy. I really that's hard. That's a hard question. Biggest joy. The PC answer is, oh, my family is my biggest joy. But actually, it's when I get to show up as my best self
Yeah.
to everyone I love.
Yeah.
That is my biggest joy, because then I can pay attention to them, and I can notice the little details of their face and their idiosyncrasies and their details of their story. And so I really love being present.
Yeah.
And so when I show up as my best self to anything and I can be present that way, I think that is
Completely
probably
in that
my biggest
in that
joy.
moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And if you could start all over again, what would you do
Mm-hmm.
differently?
If I could start all over again, what would I do differently? Oh, catch 22. If I could take all the wisdom I have now and start all over again, I would just do all of this faster, like earlier in my
Yes.
life. Earlier, I would make those mistakes, these particular set of mistakes, way earlier in my life,
Yeah.
because I finally am in a space where all of both sides of my brain get to be massaged on a daily basis, right? The creative side and the analytical side. I get to use my full array of emotions, and I get to hang out with amazing people like you and from all over the world, which makes that 7-year-old in me who wanted to grow up to be an international businesswoman, like scream every
Light
time
up.
it happens,
Yeah.
right? And so I think I would have just done this earlier, like they've
Yeah.
been a bit more adventurous in kind of pushing myself out there in the world earlier.
Beautiful. I love it. Yes, me too. Apparently, when I was young, I used to tell people I wanted to be on stage. I'm going, really? I don't even remember that, but apparently I did. There you go. So, if people wanted to get in contact with you, or perhaps even some people that are watching would be a potential speaker
Mm-hmm.
at one of your summits, which are great fun, by the way. How would they? What's the best way they can contact you, Monica?
I do believe the best way they can contact me, I apologize. The best way they can contact me would actually be on our website at www.minklifemotivation.com. That's motivate, inspire, network knowledge, Mink. Life, as in your life, designed by you for you, motivation.com. So
Awesome.
you can
Well, I
go
can
through
put that, if I'm not sure if anyone's on that, but we'll make sure we put it underneath in the comments, and I'll put it under your name there as well as in Mink Life Motivation. So it's
Yes.
Mink, it's motivation, inspire,
Network, knowledge.
Knowledge, love it. I love
Yeah.
and I real.
Can't
I
do
was
anything
wondering when
with
I
all of
heard
them.
of. Yeah, I was wondering when I heard at first what it meant, but when you explained, it was like, oh yes, that actually is exactly what it is. And I know you have a summit coming up in January. Did you need some more speakers for that or attendees?
I need both actually. Which, this is one of the most unique summits, and you can speak to it in that speakers are also attendees in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, because you learn so much from the other people who are there that you
100%.
grow as well. And so we need both. We need speakers. I need more panelists. We have all of our breakouts kind of taken care of. But coming in the next year, I need to fill 3 conferences quarterly. And so anybody who has an interest in sharing and being a part of a community of people who give from the heart, we are looking for people for personal development, business development, brand development, and network development. So if you are an influencer in any way, we would love to talk to you as well. I interview every person, so we'll figure out if you're a good fit or not. And I will
Yeah.
drop my calendar link on this post so you can kind of sign up for an interview if you're interested.
Oh, beautiful. That'd be awesome. That's terrific. And I know that's how I saw a post. I then spoke to you and we connected and we just went from there. But I know a lot of people that are speakers and influencers, and, to get the opportunity to go on another stage is just friggin' awesome. So
Oh yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the collaborations that come from this. I mean, how many speakers have you collaborated with since then, right?
Oh my God, how many interviews have I done? And I'm laughing. I'm talking to people from the US, I'm talking to people from France, I'm talking to people from all over. It's just ridiculous. And the ripple effect of it may be people in the US or Australia I was talking to, but their friends of friends. It's just like this. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, I have people say, could you interview me? It's like, oh yeah, sure, okay. But it has been, and this is it, the silver lining of COVID in so many ways. Like you, I had it all mapped out, and then it was bring it online, and we did our 2-day events and everything online. But that opened it up to people from the UK. There was people from the US. There was people from everywhere, in on that. And I think the world has just got smaller. Is the biggest silver lining of this.
Yeah, it feels smaller and freer to me. I almost didn't realize how suffocated I felt in being in Los Angeles. Now, mind you, I was like the queen of LA. I was like in, 14 or 15 different cities, in my local area.
Yeah.
But still felt like there was not enough business for me in that space. Right. And I think it was my soul saying that, like, I needed to be elevated into I needed to elevate my own self beyond my own blockage of where I thought I was going to be. First take on LA, and then take on California, and then take on the United States, and then take on the world, right? And coronavirus just kind of pushed me past all of those blockages that I had put in myself. And I feel so much freer being able to kind of connect with people all over the world. And I feel like the possibilities are endless. And like, who knows? Right? What the next thing will be, what each opportunity presents itself, who's going to come from the connection of just being on this stage with you right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we would never have met if it wasn't for that. We would never have met.
Exactly. Never.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
so
what your
glad we did.
But I'm like, I have no idea what your legs look like. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't have any. Maybe I do. Cool. So, darling, thank you so much for staying on so long. We've been talking for 40 minutes already. I mean, gosh, how quick was that?
I just adore you. Like, we could talk like this for like 3, 4, 5 hours, and I would be like, oh, okay. Well, I was just hanging out with my friend all day, like
just
the
having
connection
some fun.
Yeah, the connection between the two of us has been from
awesome.
the moment I met you. I was like, oh my gosh, she's a keeper. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you, and vice versa. Next time we'll have a glass of wine, maybe we'll have a chat.
Yes.
I know. I don't mind drinking in the morning if I have to.
5 o'clock somewhere, 5 o'clock here.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Awesome. Monica, thank you so, so much. I'll make sure that I put your link underneath. And if you put your appointment link in there, I know that because I've done this live, but I'm also going to be sharing it in some other places. And it was being streamed live into another group while we were here as well.
Lovely.
So
Well,
that's
hi,
awesome.
everybody in the Facebook world who was listening to
Thank you so, so much. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And I'll be on your summit in January as well. I'm
Yes, so excited.
Yeah.
Helping people
Cool.
with their brand story.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so, so much. And it's bye for me.
Bye.